Parshat Noach is a very famous parsha which details the destruction of the world by the Mabul. Noach, his family, and selections of the animal kingdom are saved in this teva, in this ark that Noach built. The Torah then tells us, how did Noach know that the flood was over? So the Torah tells us how first he sent in a raven, who did not do a shlichus. The raven hovered right above the ark, and that's Torah in its own right. And then Noach sent the dove, and he sent him 3 times. The first time he sends him, the dove comes back. He took it, he brought it into the ark, starting with source 1. He waited again another 7 days, and again sent out the dove from the ark. The dove came back to him in the evening, and behold, an olive leaf it had plucked with its bill, and Noach knew that the waters had subsided from upon the earth. Then he waited again another 7 days and sent the dove forth, and it did not return to him anymore. Obviously, if the Chumash is going to tell us in such detail, when in certain places it barely even mentions some detail, here the Chumash is going through such details of how the dove was sent, how the dove came back, how the dove was sent, how the dove... Obviously, there's lessons that we need to learn. There are directives from this dove that we need to learn from our lives. What I'd like to try to do, Amir Hashem, today is mention very briefly 2 lessons, obviously there are many, that the Sfarim learn from this story of the dove that are relevant for our lives. I'd like to detail very briefly 2. And then try to learn together a very famous medrash which is connected with this story, and learn this medrash on a number of levels. The first lesson that we learn is a lesson that the Drash David in source number 2 points out. He says, when you look at the language of the Chumash on how this dove, and this dove is called like the Yonah de Beisa, it was like a pet of Yonah's. It was close to Yonah in terms of how an animal, can be close to a person. He first sends him mi'ito from him. And then he sends the dove min hateva. And then he sends vayishlach et hayonah, then he sends the dove. This gradation of first from him, which is most personal, then from the teva, from its environment, and then finally just sending him is not by accident. The Torah switching the language on how it's sent is here to teach us, and this is our lesson number 1, what we need to understand when we send our yonim. The dove is compared to Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people. When we send off our children, our talmidim, our students, when we want them to grow and we send them off in life, we just don't send them off. We too need to send them off in gradations. A feeling of mi'ito, we have to make sure they understand this feeling of closeness, that they're always welcome back. This feeling that we're sending them from our environment and everything that we have within it, we're sending them. And then we're able to send them off. It's not just goodbye, good luck, have a nice life, but it's step by step, almost holding on, allowing them to keep on coming back until they're comfortable to set up their own home, until they're comfortable to move on by themselves. So the first lesson that we learned from the dove is that when we send out our doves to do it in a step-by-step manner, in a manner which is a reflection, like Noach, of tremendous amount of love and concern. The second lesson is the lesson that the Imrei Chaim brings from the Saba of Slobodka in the Sefer Orat Safon. He says the second directive we learn from the dove is about Toar Hamidos. That when a person does a mitzvah, particularly when it's an important mitzvah, sometimes a person isn't going to be so careful about people's feelings about derech eretz, because you feel like, I got to run and do this mitzvah. It's an important mitzvah. I have to do it. And I'll do it at all costs. That sometimes we trample on. We don't pay attention to the small things that may come in our way. So if a person may, let's say, I want to go to the Kotel for Vasikin, a seminary student, and she does it at the expense of waking up her roommates, so that's a problem. It's very nice that you do beautiful things and important things, but you also have to take into consideration the people around you. Sometimes we get so involved in a stucco project that we say, we want to run it, we want to do it our way. But there are people's feelings that we're stepping on, who we should also take into consideration, who also might want to get involved. And we also should integrate what they feel as well. Sometimes we get on our high horse and step on the little ants in the way. And this is something we learn from Yonah as well. There are two major birds within the Midrashic lore connected with the Teva. One of them is the Sipur HaChol. That was its name. Who Yonah blesses. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says that he was sleeping one day, and Noach said to him, "Do you want to eat?" And he said to him, "I see how busy you are with feeding all of the other animals. I didn't want to make you feel bad and ask you for food." So Noach blesses him and says, "Yiratzon shelo tamut, your species will never die." So here you see, because he was so sensitive, and he didn't want to bother Noach to feed him, because he realized how busy Noach was, Noach blesses him with this great blessing. So I would also have assumed that the Yonah who comes back with this alei zayit, with this olive branch in her mouth, she too would be